It is genuinely impressive how good the average League player is these days, and it honestly is just due to the absurd amount of educational content out there. Just this week, I played against the most insane Platinum Elo Darius. This guy was zoning me at level 1, managing the wave perfectly, he was slow pushing when he needed to, he was pressuring me so aggressively under tower, he was bouncing into freezes, he was a legitimate monster. I could tell he's watched every Aloys wave control fundamentals video ever. In fact, thank God he had a jungle Yumi and his entire team was trolling. I was definitely getting owned that game. Also, anytime I see a mid laner start Doran's ring with only one health potion, I immediately know they're a Nemesis viewer. That's because I also stole that from him. Better yet, I'm always so happy whenever I see a low elo ADC split pushing the whole game. Look at this Platinum Jinx. Dragon is spawning and she said no thank you. I feel like I'm the only creator who tells ADCs to do this, and whenever I see it happening, I'm so happy players are listening. She got so many jungle camps, a ton of pressure and gold in top lane, totaling around 1700 gold in just a little over a minute. That was genuinely beautiful. I love when ADCs play like this. Now I like to call these players content nerds. It's just really clear that they either watch streams, guides, they get coaching, or whatever. And I always check whether they're smurfs or not because they impress me so much in the game. I'm like, they have to be smurfing, but no. Here's that Darius that was owning me from earlier. Unfortunately, they're always pretty mediocre win rate, hard stuck type of players. Now, I'm not trying to throw shade, don't hate me or anything. I just find it sad that this player who's clearly playing very well for his elo, I literally thought he was a smurf, he's putting in the due diligence. He doesn't have an ego. He's looking up solutions, practicing, and he's just not climbing that much faster than everyone else who kind of just wings it. I see players like this so often and I just ask myself why? Why don't they improve faster? The issue is that challenger players are so much better than we actually realize ourselves. We're doing so many little micro things properly that we're not telling you about. That's why guides always tell you some super basic thing like, just fight with a level lead, bro. It's not that the advice is wrong, but you're missing those crucial details, and that's what we constantly try to figure out at Skillcap. Our goal is to better understand the execution that challengers are using that they're not telling you about to help you climb faster. And that's what I want to share with you today. I'm going to be teaching you the little details for the execution of the most repeated advice you always hear. Without a doubt, the most important macro concept to know is simply pushing minion waves. You don't need to hear it from me. There's hundreds of guides about how you push to get priority. You push to get mid priority, you push to go to the objective, you push then rotate, you push then recall, you push then get vision control, you push then farm camps, you push into yada yada yada. Pushing into whatever is 99% of macro in this game. Believe me, I really wish it wasn't, so I would have more ideas for guides, but it really is that simple. But you're missing the most important detail, and that's why it doesn't work for you. So when you watch an educational guide or commentary, this always happens. Here's a moment from a Smurf commentary on our site. I'm playing in Diamond, and I push a wave. And it's like, oh my god, look how easy this is. You just push, force someone to defend, and then you teleport and fight. Look how simple that was. Wow, you can do that too. Climbing is so easy, huh? So now you go and try it. You push a wave and someone clears it instantly, giving you no time to do anything. Or your team died while you were pushing, or whatever else, right? Like, sometimes it works, but more often than not, it just doesn't do much when you try it, right? Why is that? It always works for the challenger, but never for you, even when it feels like you're doing the exact same thing. It's simple. The answer is simpler than you would think. You just have to push faster. I've played and reviewed an insane amount of low elo games, and I promise you, almost every single one of you is extremely slow at this. Most players don't think about the value of doing something slightly faster, but you actually already kind of know this. For example, think about the difference between an empowered and a regular recall. It's completely different, right? You're only saving around 4 seconds, but it feels like a massive difference. Or how about when you push a wave into the tower and you need to base? The furthest you want to walk back to is this brush. Going to the middle brush feels pretty bad, and going all the way to the furthest brush is definitely a no-go. I would rather die than walk all the way back there. These small seconds of wasted time feel like a big deal because your brain is pretty good at recognizing patterns. You've all taken a late recall before and been denied a wave or lost a plate because of it. There's a reason that tempo is the most overused word in this game, and here's the problem. There's 3 steps to pushing a wave properly. Individually, they're not a big deal, but let's say you lose 4 seconds on step 1, just 1 second on step 2, and 2 seconds on step 3. That's 7 seconds of wasted wasted time. That's almost an entire recall channel. And remember, waves spawn every 30 seconds. I'm not saying you're always pushing waves, but you should be interacting with them very often. So think about how much time you're wasting every single game. This is why your teammates die when you go push, because you were slow. This is why assassins kill you when you go to a side lane. They got to you in time because you were slow. And this is why you never get the value that you see us get with our pushes. It's because we were faster and had way more time to do things than you did. If you feel like you've watched a ton of guides or listened to streamers give you a bunch of tips, but you've hit a wall in League of Legends, then this guide is for you, and I'm very confident it's going to open your eyes to what you may be missing. But I do want to stress that this guide alone is just one step towards getting over the massive wall that is improving in League these days, where everyone is so good. That's why I've made a special companion course on our site that will cover way more than I discuss here. There I will teach you what is a complete waste of time to learn, what to actually focus on, how to review your games without spending an hour on it. We are playing a video game, we're not studying calculus. In fact, you know how every educational creator says to never autopilot, you need to always be disciplined and focused to play your best and improve. Instead, I will tell you why I personally disagree with that and how I think 80% of challenger gaming is just pure autopilot instincts. That's why I put up that personal course on our site. I want to teach players how to improve quickly without making League their 9-to-5 job. On top of that, we've also got a ton of other courses I've helped create. There's a dedicated course for every single role. We have courses for macro, trading, CSing, jungle clearing, and so on. And all of it is thought out to be as efficient as possible for you to learn. If you're interested, there's a special discount link below to sign up, which specifically helps me out. And worst case scenario, let's say you don't enjoy the way we teach. That's completely fine. Everyone learns differently. I actively encourage you to seek out what works best for you. So if you don't improve with our service, you get your money back, no questions asked. In any case, let's get back to the video, starting with step 1. This is the easiest one to fix and probably the most important one too, which is good for you. All you're doing is deciding to go push. 99% of low elo players have the problem where you think too much about pushing. If you have to think about pushing a wave, you've already messed up. Most of you play with figurative weights on, always doubting or questioning any decision you make. Every fiber of your being in every single game at almost all times should be thinking, where is the next wave and how do I push it? Let me show you what this looks like by presenting you one of Faker's most embarrassing plays of all time. Watch. T1 is fighting in the jungle and he's zoned off with Gumayusi to the side. The rest of the team kills Rell and Jax gets out. Watch Faker. At this moment, he thinks the fight is over and he's like, welp, time to push. And he actually just left. And then Zeus flash engages on Kai'Sa and T1 gets absolutely railed. Look at Faker showing up super late like a little rat. He's just like, what's going on here, guys? I was trying to push the wave. Most people would rightfully say he's trolling, and I am not defending him. That was him griefing his team to the max. But there's a good reason he did that. If you go back to this frame, it's fairly reasonable to say the fight is over. At least in this moment. Let's not hindsight high horse him here. A good player is always looking for ways to pressure and to do it really fast. So the second the fight seemed over, Faker went to push. This is your issue. Most of you have doubts that when you leave to push, your team will immediately fight or all die. Yep, that is gonna happen. You're going to troll and you're gonna throw games, but you can't be so afraid of losing that you're not willing to take the risk to win. If you have this super long 2 to 5 second delay before every push, you will never have the pressure a good player does. Your pressure is crap because you're always so slow. Faker was willing to risk it in a super important series. That's how important minion pressure is. He lost. They went 0-3. It's pretty funny actually that they just lost off that. But for every game Faker has thrown this way, he's won 100 more in the past by not being afraid and committing to his pushing. In fact, here's a more casual example featuring Nemesis. He teleports in at an awkward time to this fight. The enemy disengages and Pyke presses W. Notice how he hovers Kai'Sa for a bit to defend her, but the second, literally the millisecond that Pyke W runs out, he instantly moves to the wave, and then he rejoins the fight afterwards. The outcome is usually positive like this one, not like Faker's. To put what I'm saying clearly, the biggest issue almost every single one of you has is that you ask the reverse questions. I see this all the time in guides, commentaries, or from people I coach. I get asked, when should I leave my team to push? Against what assassins can I split push? Should I be late to the objective to push this wave? Because you ask yourself these questions, you guys do this little thing where you go, I don't know, I guess I should go push here. Yeah, that makes sense. You spend and waste so much time deciding that you don't actually get the value from the push. This is why it never feels good. It's because you don't truly believe in it and you're not doing it fast enough. You need to completely reverse your mindset. You want to ask the opposite questions. When do I stop pushing the group? Against what assassins can't I split against? Should I ditch this wave for the objective? If your default mindset is to always be pushing a wave, then you will never waste any time, and you will have so much more pressure every game because you'll actually have the time to get the value out of your waves. And the best part is that the less you hesitate, even your wrong calls will have better outcomes. Let's go back to my Orianna game from earlier. Did I make the wrong call here? I should have gone to Herald. I didn't think we would go Herald. It's kind of weird to fight Herald when we could just take third dragon here. But it's a good point. Okay, I made a mistake. Just commit to the mistake and push. Okay, as you heard, I acknowledged I messed up. The difference is that so many lower elo players would doubt themselves. Oh crap, I need to go help. Actually, I'm gonna be late. I don't know what to do. I just commit. I screwed up. It happens. Whatever. Some of my team dies because I messed up, but because I committed to the wave quickly, I can at least trade a tower back. Also, pushing waves is really good. There is a reason everyone tells you to do so. I forced someone to defend bot lane, and then I rotated to flank the surviving enemy team. And that's all for me playing bad, but it worked because I did it quickly without hesitation. Your bad plays can actually turn out to be good if you just commit and do them quickly. Oh, and does that situation look familiar? Once I realize I have nothing more to contribute to the fight, I instantly go find another wave to push. Every single challenger player, including me, has a minion wave addiction because we know it matters. We are always looking for the next wave to push. Trust me, stop thinking so much about your pushing. Your default mindset at all times should be to push waves. Stop thinking about it. You will see so many more good opportunities if you actually master this mindset. Alright, let's move on to step 2. This is a weird one because it's the least important, but also where the most skill expression is by far, and it's just the act of actually killing the minions. Sometimes interacting with a minion wave is pretty straightforward. I'm Sivir, I'm gonna press W and Q and the wave dies instantly. Cool. But you have to consider that waves come in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes there's a massive wave you have to clear, or sometimes some of the minions are damaged. Sometimes they're in tower range, or sometimes you have to kill the wave in front of your opponent. Sometimes you're pretty fed and all your spells do way more damage, and some games you're weak and your spells do nothing. And sometimes you only have enough mana for 2 spells, yada yada yada. The variables are endless, so killing minion waves as quickly and efficiently as possible in every single situation is not easy, especially because you have to do it every single time you interact with a wave. It's not just doing it well one time, it's doing it well every single time you touch a wave. Let's look at an example by Chovy. You don't have to learn what I'm about to say, just watch and then I'll give you a simple takeaway. As he clears the residual of this previous wave, Chovy was scouting and saw the control ward ahead. He makes sure to walk past his own wave so that he aggroes the incoming enemy one. And he does something odd. He doesn't auto the minions while moving up, he just rushes to the control ward. This is because wasting Mini-Gnar autos is pointless. He just wants his Mega Form. Chovy knows that at this point in the game, he's got his QW breakpoint. His Q one-shots casters and leaves melees low enough for his W to finish them off. And he's also got his Trinity Force breakpoint where one auto can kill a caster. At the same time, he allowed his wave to kill the melee that didn't follow him. This was about as quickly as you could possibly kill all the minions and the ward. Let me be clear, that was a really smart way to kill that wave and that ward quickly. The reason this mattered so much is that his team was on a timer for Herald. Look how close the enemy team was to contesting. If Chovy had cleared that wave 1 or 2 seconds slower, maybe they get there in time to contest. Things were that close and every little second can matter in Challenger. You cannot be a top player unless you constantly min-max your time in this game. Now believe me, I was really tempted when making this video to go down the rabbit hole that is clearing waves. When I say this takes skill, I mean it. There's so many layers and so many specific situations you can find yourself in that I didn't know if there's even something simple to teach you. But then I realized, wait a minute, almost every situation falls under one simple concept. You don't want to overkill minions. To put it simply, if you deal more than a minion's total health bar, that means you're wasting damage in some way, which technically means you're probably wasting time. And the way to get good at not overkilling minions is by thinking about your damage in terms of percentages or fractions, whatever floats your boat. Whenever you base, level up, or whatever, always look at how much damage you're dealing with your spells or autos to specific minions. So for example, let's say you're an ADC and your auto attack is dealing 40% of a melee minion's HP. What you would want to avoid is auto attacking that minion 3 times to kill it. That would be a 20% overkill, which would obviously slow you down. That's right, we're doing some math. There's a few ways to do this. You could do 2 autos plus a source that deals 20% of the minion's HP. That could be one of your spells or something. Or you could simply do an auto plus a 60% source, or 1 auto plus 2 30% sources. It doesn't matter how you do it, you simply want to get as close to 100% as possible. Before you think this is too hard and way too much effort, trust me, it's not. First, let's just look at an example. Again, we're going to take a look at Chovy. He's clearing a ward and stacked his Kraken Slayer. He autos this melee minion and does about 50% of its HP. To me, that suspiciously doesn't look like 50%. It's maybe more like 48%. So 2 Kraken Slayer autos might not kill it. I'd be careful here, and I think he had the same vibe I do based on how he played this. Next is a regular auto that dealt about 20% of the melee's HP. He does another on this melee, and then a Kraken auto on the caster that barely doesn't kill it. So immediately we've established 3 different percentages. Kraken autos do 48%ish of a melee's HP, regular autos do 20% of melee's, and a Kraken auto will nearly kill a caster with like 95%. So he autos the initial minion, dealing 20% damage, then finishes off this caster, stacking his Kraken Slayer. Now he uses his Kraken auto to finish off the first melee. Due to his passive, these are now at like 50-ish% HP, again a bit deceptive. So he stacks his Kraken Slayer while his own wave deals a little bit of damage to the melees. Notice how he focuses the one that took damage to be safe and it dies. He does make a final mistake. He thought an auto would kill this, but the ideal play would have been to auto the caster and let his minions damage the melee, but whatever. I chose this example for a reason. I don't want you guys to think you have to do some perfect calculations on every single wave. Based on his current items, that was actually a very tricky wave to kill perfectly. I would not have done that any better. He messed up and he could have cleared that with maybe 2 less autos, probably. What matters more here is that you could see how clearly he was playing around damage percentages. That's all I want from you. Don't strive for perfection, just try to use the concept. And for those of you who think this is way too tedious for a little benefit, believe me, once you practice it a bit, you start doing it subconsciously. In the same way that when you're driving, you don't think about braking anymore, it's the same thing. Trust me, I am not busting out a calculator every time I interact with a wave, I just do it. You start to see patterns and you get decent at it pretty quick, I'd say. So don't worry about tryharding every second of every game. Once you actually learn the skill, it's going to become pure autopilot for you. And don't think most situations are going to be extremely complicated. Most of them will be pretty straightforward, such as this one. So as Chovy hits this melee, his auto does 60 to 65% of the melee's HP. As you should know, 2 autos would be overkill in that situation. So he kills that melee, then focuses the casters first. This way, his own wave gets the melees into kill range of 1 auto attack. See? Simple percentages and not overkilling is usually kinda easy, and it saved him 2 autos there. Towards the end, you can also see why this matters. If he'd wasted some time here, Chovy may not get the tower. Lucian was pretty close to getting there to defend it. Finally, as I mentioned at the start, this is the step that requires the most amount of skill for the least reward. I oversimplified this pretty hard. Even playing perfectly, you will save a second or 2 at most on every wave. Challenger players to this day continue to practice this regularly. I can just clearly tell when someone is practicing how to kill minions on a champion they're not comfortable on. I can literally see their intentions in real time. Like them, you're not going to be perfect at this. That's completely fine. Whenever you interact with a wave, just ask yourself if you could have killed it faster. Did you overkill any minions? If you do this, you will get better at it over time, and it's not a skill you ever stop practicing. It is 100% impossible to be perfect at it, so just keep practicing and trying to be better little by little. Alright, moving on to step 3, which is another biggie like step 1. Let me present to you a situation. Let's say a dragon fight is brewing and you're Ahri. You've watched this guide and you're like, okay, I'm not gonna hesitate, I'm gonna go clear that wave before fighting a dragon. Cool. Again, you are Ahri. See if you can get it. What is the problem you're facing here that's going to slow you down? If you got it, nice. Ahri only has 1 good spell to clear waves, and it doesn't work when she's standing horizontally like this. You'd have to choose between the melees and the casters. So to clear the wave, you'd have to walk all the way over here, Q, wait for your Q to return, then walk back towards the fight. That is yucky and very slow. I'm on a time crunch. I need to push to get back to dragon fast. And that is the problem we need to solve in step 3. As you clear waves, you want to have your next move already in mind. Whenever I watch low elo games, I see players very often clear a wave and then they're like, Now what? They have to think about it, and then they go to their next destination. It's not always this bad, but yeah, that was pretty bad, right? Technically, this should be an easy fix. Okay, I'm gonna clear this wave, but I'm going here next. So I clear the wave while moving that way. Simple. But this can get a bit complex in certain cases, especially when paired with step 2. Trying to kill minions optimally while moving to your destination might be a bit tricky. So for example, I'm playing Xayah here. I know that I want to keep pushing bot after this wave. So you can see how I'm clearing the wave, trying to optimize how quickly I kill the minions while simultaneously moving up. That was not clean. I am not that good at Xayah. That's the point though, it can be complicated. There's a lot of layers to this concept, like this example as well. Chovy knows he's gonna TP mid soon, but he's committed to pushing first. He QWs, chains the cannon, but his Q is now on cooldown, and this would take like 2 to 3 more seconds to finish. He decides that these 2 final minions aren't worth it, so he inputs one last auto attack before teleporting. The reason is so that the minion would die during his TP, so he'd get experience for it. That's how hard he's trying to min-max. Again, don't feel like I'm trying to overwhelm you. I just want you to see the type of things challenger players do because, well, they think it matters. What I expect from you though is just the simple stuff. I want you to posture towards your next destination whenever killing a wave. Viper here wants to move forward, so he's killing the minions as he moves up. Then, when he wants to go to the jungle, he's killing the minions on the way there. Okay, but here's a concern you may have. What if I'm not very good? I don't know where to go next all the time. This is surely only possible for people with good macro in the first place, no? Actually, it's perfectly okay to not know where to go. Just pick somewhere and posture towards that destination. Here, Viper thought, I'm going top, so he postured to kill the wave to go top afterwards. But this wasn't the best decision. The play was over, that's fine, he just goes back. The reason you posture is that if you're correct, you will get to your destination faster. And if you're wrong and you change your mind, you don't lose too much. So you may as well do it. Practice it, get better at it, and be faster. Now that you understand these steps, let's show you what it looks like when people are slow. And I'm not going to use Iron Elo cherry-picked examples. I looked at one Masters Elo game. Masters are pretty top-tier players despite what challengers want you to believe. They're pretty good. Every example here will be from one single game. I'm not going to go look through 20 VODs to give you perfect examples to prove my point. Let's start here. Take a look at this Kog'Maw. He's pushing top while a fight brews in mid lane. That's fine, but watch his execution. He's overkilling minions, failing step 2, and he's not posturing towards mid as he does it. Kog'Maw can finish off minions from pretty far away with his ultimate. Why is he finishing the wave from so close? Imagine he was in mid lane 2 or 3 seconds earlier here. Gwen wouldn't have this much pressure, and maybe his Aurora wouldn't die in the river a little later on. Or maybe he doesn't lose his mid tower at the end of everything. This is what I'm talking about the whole guide. His initial push was good. He forced Lux to stay top lane. That's why you push in the first place. But the reason it never feels good for you is because your pushing is slow, so you don't get the benefit. You never know how things might change if you're a little faster. And now it's just a couple of seconds. Masters Elo players are already kind of efficient at pushing waves, but imagine what you're missing when you waste even more time than this in lower brackets. Okay, but that's a bit of a stretch though. We're not sure what would have happened if he was 2 or 3 seconds earlier. Fair enough. Well, in the exact same game, take a look at the enemy Misfortune later on. A fight is going on bot lane. She kills Aurora and then decides to push. Okay, that wasn't bad. In fact, it was pretty good. But she overkilled this melee minion and then she postured towards the top side of the map, not towards the fight. And could you believe it? She gets there 2 or 3 seconds late. Look, Hui's E is on cooldown right now, but because she's late, she doesn't kill him and she ends up dying instead. Look at her Gwen. She TP'd into the wave MF pushed in earlier. This was amazing setup. That's why you push before fighting. Imagine if MF had been faster, stayed alive and killed Hui. She would force the enemy team to chase her and Gwen takes the inhibitor. Her earlier push would have been game winning. It was genuinely perfect. Instead, the blue team barely loses anything and they eventually kill Gwen on top of that. A game-winning play went bad because MF was 2 seconds late. Moving forward, again from the same game. Hui is bot later on. He's waiting a bit, but he does see almost everyone on the map. He should move to push now. And now, thank you. If he'd been faster, he'd be a little further up here, letting him push this next wave quicker. Then look, again, he had vision from before. He should know he's completely safe. Why is he moving towards the right? right, he should be posturing left, ready to rejoin his team. I will say that I do like how he QE'd the wave and left the minions behind. Again, this is Masters Elo, these players are genuinely good and that was a solid decision, but his other mistakes do result in him being a little delayed, and as a result, let's pause here. If he was just 1 second earlier, 1 second, he would be in this brush. His positioning would be beautiful, the enemy team would have seen him coming, but whatever. He would have brush control and he'd be pincering Graves. Also, Lux had to defend his push. This is why pushing is OP. Instead, watch what happens. He enters the brush late, so vision is really awkward. Graves is on him immediately, Hui panics and instantly dies. Another game-winning moment lost just like that. Great. Please consider what I did here for a moment. I reviewed a single Masters Elo game and found 3 examples of players not pushing well and there being consequences. To be honest, there's probably more in this one game, I just barely looked. Now imagine how slow the average gold or platinum player is multiple times per game when pushing waves and posturing afterwards. This is one of my annoyances with coaching and hindsight reviewing games. I'm sure someone coaching COG here would be like, Kog'Maw, man, you should have seen the fight going on mid, bro. You didn't have time to push here. You should have just rotated instead. Bro, MF, the fight was over. Why did you rotate bottom? You should have just stayed mid with your wave, dude. If you just stayed, you get a free tier 2. Stop tunneling on kills. You need to macro, bro. Way, man, I keep telling you to buy control wards because of this. Brush vision is so OP. If you just had a ward, you win the game here. Come on, dude. Look, I'm not saying this hypothetical coach's advice is bad, but why spend so much time overthinking every decision in every game? I feel like there's not enough emphasis on execution from low elo players. If you just push faster, all of your actual good decisions become infinitely better. You will simply win more games because you have way more wave pressure. On the other hand, your bad decisions will become less bad, or in some cases, they'll even be good. All 3 of those plays would have worked if the players had been faster, just like my Orianna example from earlier. Personally, I'd rather practice a skill that will help me in every minute of every game I ever play of League. Also, you don't even know if your decision making is good or not unless you're actually executing on pushing quickly. Sometimes decisions you made that didn't work out might have actually been good and you just never know because you did it slowly. So in my opinion, I do believe this is the #1 skill everyone should work on to improve. Before wrapping things up, let me remind you of the course I made over at SkillCap. I'm someone very committed to figuring out what actually helps people improve, not just the same old advice you hear time and time again. In that course, you will learn what to actually work on, what I think is a waste of time, tips for improving much faster than the average player, and so on. And then, on top of that, you will have access to all of our other courses as well. There's detailed courses dedicated to every single role, macro, mechanics, and so on. If you really want to improve, I highly suggest signing up. Again, there's a special discount link below. And if you don't improve using our service, you simply get your money back. Alright, that's going to be it for this one. See you next time.